Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. Today is Monday, June the 26th. And like every Monday, I'm joined by Mr. Doug Upstone of DocSports.com. We got two Major League Baseball free pick winners for you. For games will be played on Tuesday, the 27th. So we're taping 24 hours in advance, folks. And of course, the lines and the odds we use on this program, whatever way you want to phrase it, they are subject to change depending on when you view the video. I mean, what we give out today is our lines. We always grade them on. Sometimes that works for us, and sometimes it works against us. I know a lot of things that worked against me this past weekend, Doug. I'm telling you, I lost an extra inning game. I lost 3-1 run games. I lost a total by half a run. Had the Yankees game over under 7.5 yesterday, 3-2 after 2 innings. And I get all the way to the third, and the Yankees are bottom of the eighth, and the Yankees put up a 3-spot 5-3, and I lose. It just, when things go bad, you almost expect that kind of stuff to happen. But we move on. And how are you, my friend? How was your weekend? Now that I got done putting my towel away, I'm done crying.
Yeah, well, no, just I, from a sports betting perspective, had a up and down weekend. Good in baseball, not as good in and I had missed on the USFL game, which I mentioned to you beforehand. Had the big score in the second half, which was unexpected. But MLB props, well, I could talk about that in a little bit. But MLB props are red hot right now. I just for whatever reason have gotten dialed in a little bit on that, and things are making a lot of sense. So really happy with that, and I'm also happy, Ross, that we have our new team shirts that we're able to wear today.
We did not call each other this morning, folks. We both got on there and go, whoa, what happened there? So anyway. It's a team color, like Doug said, for today. And
yes.
So I guess
right.
you can call us probably either the Cincinnati Reds or the Doug and Ross Cardinals. Any way you want to put it. Anyway, Doug, USFL, tough loss, like you said. Baseball, we saw some weird things go on. We were talking off air, and it's worth mentioning again, the LA Angels, who put up 25 or 26 runs?
25-1 was the final score, and they scored 13 runs in the third inning, and they scored 8 in the fourth inning.
Wow!
And that kind of put that game away.
I'm going through my news feeds, right, because I got the sports betting news feeds, and it's the top of the fifth, and I'm looking at the in-game betting. It said the Angels were minus 24.5. I said, wait a minute. Is this a football game or a baseball? I had to check the score, and I couldn't believe it when I saw it. But in the event, that happens.
And it does. Six home runs. The margin of victory was the third largest, tied for the third largest since 1901. So that was of note on that one. And then the other thing that's unusual is that the Angels, though, in true to form, they lose the series and they outscore the other team by what? I think it's 12 or 13 runs, in the series. So, I mean, it's just, it was just stupid baseball stuff is really what it was. And, the Angels, I guess that's just like a typical situation for them. They just when you like with how they're playing, you think they got something going, they just do something, they lost 2 games to the Dodgers, didn't score a run in either game. And then 2 days later, then they scored 25. So, so that was crazy. No question about that. And then the other one to me that was a little under the radar. So that you mentioned the Yankees, and Texas lost the series, giving up the lead in the 9th inning or 8th inning, as you mentioned, and they lost the series. But here's the thing: they scored 7 runs in the series. They had 30 hits in the series. Texas did, and they left 30 guys on base for the series. Holy cow. I mean, that has to be depressing to Texas. I mean, I know it's baseball. You move on to the next day and all that stuff. But I mean, you had it and you just didn't come through with any big hits when you needed to.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, they're lucky they won one game in that series. They won extra innings, the initial game of the series.
That's right.
They very easily could have got swept. Yeah, obviously that speaks to leaving a lot of runners on base. and a very poor batting average with men in scoring position as well. There was a lot of that this past weekend. A lot of games in which a ton of guys being left on base. But it is what it is. Sometimes that works for you, and other times when you have unders, it works, or overs, it works against you. So nature of the game, Doug. So anyway, we got a segment we call Fact or Fiction, and we're going to shorten it up a little bit. We're going to have one question each for each other, and we're going to answer it with fact or fiction, and also give you the analysis on why we think either way. Now, keep in mind, folks, this is not pre-rehearsed. I have no idea what Doug's going to ask me, and he has no idea what I'm going to ask him. But I'm going to let him go first this time and ask him.
All right. Well, I will have a question before we do it, because I came prepared with two questions. Okay. Is your question football or is it baseball?
My question is baseball.
Okay, so I'm going to go with the football question then, just to change it up a little bit here. All right. And not a team near and dear to your heart, but certainly in the region that you live. The New York Football Giants are plus 140 to make the playoffs. Is that a good bet, fact or fiction?
You know what? It looks like an enticing bet after they made the playoffs last year. But when I look at their overall regular season win total at DraftKings right now, it's 7.5. So I'm going to say, is that a good bet at plus 140 to make the playoffs? I'm going to say fiction, Doug.
And I would agree with you on that. From the standpoint of, they won a lot of close games last year. They had a super, I forget exactly what it was, but I want to say, didn't they go like 12, at least 12, have at least 12 spread wins? Might have even had more. I don't recall offhand, but I mean, so they won a lot of games against the spread. Dallas, well, hard to say what you think of Dallas, but Philadelphia still looks very strong. I think that Washington probably will be better. And so everything kind of came together with them last year. Is Daniel Jones, he took a big step forward last year. Does he match that? Or does he go further? And then the same thing with Barkley at running back. He had a really good year. Does he stay healthy? Okay, yeah. He did last year. We haven't seen that though in the last couple of years about that. And the other thing too is, as we have seen, and maybe this will just be water under the bridge, but he's not thrilled about his contract situation right now. Yeah, you never know about certain guys, how they feel about things. A lot of guys can put it away. I'm not saying that, but there seems to be more questions, and they took a big step forward. I'm not sure that they can, continue to do that again going forward this year, anyways.
Yeah, a lot of things went their way, and they have to play in the non-conference part of their schedule. They're playing the AFC East, which has three very good teams, and a team that's probably right on par with the Giants and New England Patriots. Again, this is all foresight and conjecture, right, Doug? So we don't know what's going to happen once the curtains get drawn out. But we're going to take an educated guess here. And I'm, like I said, I just don't like, in terms of Daniel Jones, I don't think Daniel Jones is going to be where the issues are, if they have issues. Actually, with Brian Daboll, since he took over as the head coach, and he's not officially the offensive coordinator, but he has a lot of input. I mean, and he was the offensive coordinator for years in Buffalo, and they had a lot of success there. And there's a guy named Josh Allen that made a steady progression from the time he took over as an offensive coordinator as the years went on. However, I'm not suggesting that Daniel Jones has the physical talent or the arm or the athletic. Well, the athleticism, he's very underrated athletically. But I'm not suggesting he's going to be in that caliber, but I'm suggesting I think we'll see another progression in the growth of Daniel Jones this year. Is that a fair answer?
That's a very fair answer. Yes. So yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think there's some progression, but I'm not sure if there's enough talent. And there'll be better receiver and stuff. I guess I've never been sold on him as a quarterback. I don't see him as anything more than probably 14 or 15, and that's even a maybe. overall among all quarterbacks. So,
You could,
so yeah,
Doug, you could win with 14 or 15. And when I
oh,
say win,
if the rest of your team is strong enough,
right,
yes,
but
right.
it's not. You're right. I mean, look at again. I go back to if they're a playoff team from last year. They're over and out under regular season win total. I'm getting ahead of myself because Thursday we're going to be doing an NFL regular season totals projection on wins and wins. Excuse me, over and under the win total. The Giants are at 7.5. So I think you know where I'm going with this. Although they could still win 9 games this year and not make the playoffs. So it's quite possible. The NFC East, Doug, Dallas, how does your opinion change if Dallas, a lot of rumors going around, right, Doug, with these free agents still available, namely DeAndre Hopkins and Dalvin Cook, who now are marketing themselves as a package. Whoever picks them up, they're going to turn they're going to turn the franchise around, or they're going to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender. I know Dallas has been widely rumored to be interested in that package. If they secure those 2 guys, how much does your opinion or your, how could I say it, your evaluation of Dallas change going into the season?
For me, modestly. I like Dalvin Cook, but I think they kind of have a guy already like that in the backfield. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the difference is. Okay. From that standpoint. So having 2 guys that are the same, from that standpoint, and Hopkins, excellent receiver, great possession receiver, maybe something that they need, but they had one too, and they let one go there, even though Hopkins, I believe, is a better route runner. And, not much, to be perfectly honest. Anything that Dallas does for me personally isn't going to move the needle much. Okay. I think it's an okay team, probably 10 wins, might get to 11. Maybe they have a year, but I'm not on board with them, and to get excited about them. How about you?
Well, one more question follow up to that. You're a Green Bay Packers fan. You always have been since a kid. Now you don't let that interfere with your handicapping, but with all things being equal and with no bets or picks riding on the Packers, how much of the sour taste that was left in your mouth with Mike McCarthy in Green Bay carries over to the job at Dallas?
Not an ounce. The Mike McCarthy, there was a falling out. I think both egos got involved with Rodgers and McCarthy. Yeah. McCarthy had to make the best decision that he could for himself. He did. He's gone on. He's had success at Dallas, but he has not had a lot of success at Dallas. Okay, yeah. So I think he's an above average coach. I don't think he's a great coach by any stretch, and that just which, by the way, kind of fits the whole franchise.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, always seems like everything they try from a coaching perspective in Dallas, it's not bad. I mean, they've won a couple divisions, haven't they, in the last couple of years?
Oh yeah. I mean, but when they win the division, they go in the playoffs and are done.
Yeah, right, so, exactly. And last year they were a wild card because Philly won the division. Yep. Philly in that division. And going back to what we were talking about before on the New York Giants have to play Miami. They have to play Buffalo. They have to play New England, and they have to play the Jets. Okay. And if you look at the regular season win totals of just the top 3 teams, meaning the Jets, Buffalo, and Dolphins, according to the win projections, that shapes up to be a much tougher non-conference part of their schedule than they had last year. And you could equate that into the non-division schedule as well. So, when you win more games, you get a tougher schedule the following year. That's just the way things go. All right. Before we get to our Major League Baseball picks, I got one question for Doug. Fact or fiction? Interleague splits, interleague stats are now overvalued. Fact or fiction?
I would say fact. I mean, there's you're going to have so many more games. They're pertinent. They're pertinent within the context of the particular season. Okay, because like a lot of Miami's success this year has been beating the American League teams, so that that's played to their advantage. But so they're all isolated incidents. So from that standpoint, I don't think it matters much. Again, I'm a big proponent of the balance schedule. I really like it. But from the standpoint of what it means to me, they're just numbers now. They just get all thrown into the fix. What do you think?
I think I agree with you. I'm going to say fact that they're overvalued, and the most simplest and basic reason why is no longer when an American League team goes to a National League park does the pitcher have to hit. Right. Now the designated hitter is universal. And that makes a world of difference, folks, because it was a big advantage, in my estimation, big advantage for the National League because they knew how to play that game. Their pitchers were hitting all year long, with the exception of when they went to an American League park, which was very minimal back then, like Doug just alluded to. Now we're seeing more matchups, American League against National League, a more balanced schedule. So to me, it's overvalued. I look at all teams and all in one league. I don't look at, Miami has got a great record against American League teams. I would look at who they played in the American League. Okay. How many quality teams they played, because quite frankly, why is Miami doing better against an American League teams than National League teams? There's no reasonable explanation. It's not because they're winning at home against American League teams that pitchers aren't used to hitting or sacrificing or whatever have you. It's not that they're going on the road and they're a great hitting team and they get to use the DH, which they weren't able to a couple of years ago in the National League when they went to when they hosted an American League city. So there you go. I mean, I think it's way overvalued. All right. Before we get to our free picks, again, folks, you're watching the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast on the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel, brought to you by GamblersWorld.com. That's GamblersWorld.com. Check it out. A lot of free pick videos, including our own, there on a daily basis. And Mr. Jim Quinn over there at GamblersWorld.com does a fantastic job. And we have to say that because he owns this channel. Jim, I'm only kidding. We do love you, and you do a great job. And I couldn't think of a better guy to work with over the last 4 years. Integral part of the growth of this channel, Mr. Jim Quinn. Also, my man Seth over there on graphics. So thank you guys behind the scenes. All right, let's get to our Major League Baseball picks. Doug, Tampa Bay and Arizona. I assigned you this game yesterday when I made out the schedule for the week, and I looked at it and said, Doug's going to love this matchup. The Rays against the Diamondbacks, two division leaders, right in his backyard. He's got a lot of familiarity what's going on with Arizona, like he does with every other club in the major leagues, because we handicap on a daily basis. But Doug, I don't know where you're going to go with this, but let me know, or let us know.
No problem on that. So, and by the way, I will be at the Wednesday game, just so you know. So on that one, so I'm doing that one just to see Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay hits the road on this one, coming off what I think is an ugly split against Kansas City. I mean, Kansas City had 42 hits against Tampa Bay pitching. That's just not good. Now, Tampa Bay going on the road, only 20-17 this year, despite outscoring the opposition by 1.5 runs per game. So when they've won, they've dominated. When they've lost, for the most part, the games have been obviously close. It's become increasingly clear, though, in looking at Tampa Bay and what seems to be the issue. Now, they got some pitchers that can come back, but unless they get good starts from their starting pitching, the bullpen has holes, especially in middle relief from that standpoint. So that's a little concern going forward. Now, Arizona avoided a sweep yesterday by winning at San Francisco 5-2. Diamondbacks were actually in position to win all three games at various points. They scored 16 runs in the series. But the Giants' offense, as we have all seen, especially how they've been playing the last almost 2 weeks, they've just been scalding hot until Sunday. No great reason for the Diamondbacks to have a 23-18 record at home versus being 10 games over 500 on the road. The only thing I could point to is they're only scoring 4.8 runs per game at home versus 5.6 on the road. But there's really no sense to that, only because for those who don't know, Chase Field is a hitter's ballpark. Okay, with the lighter air, everything about it, even with the roof open or closed, doesn't make any difference. It's a ballpark that's set up. It's very deep in the alley, so I mean, you can score runs there. They just haven't done as well. Now, Ross, what you're talking about, I was all set to pick Miami. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Gallen coming from Miami. All set to pick Arizona with Zach Gallen. Okay, because it was his turn in the rotation. And I'm sure when you look that up on Sunday, that's what you saw from that standpoint. Well, guess what? Now the Snakes are to be determined for a pitcher. As to what that means, I think there's some general concern about Gallen fastball. His velocity had dipped a couple starts. It was better in his last one, but I'm thinking that maybe they're just contemplating giving him one extra day, okay, of rest. So they're going to trot out somebody else. Now, if Gallen pitches, I'm taking Arizona. He's 7-1 at home. That's a done deal. But if he doesn't, I'm going to go a different direction. Though Arizona can still win without Gallen, I do like the Rays' Taj Bradley. Bradley's only pitched he has 10 starts. 3 have gone into the 6th inning. That's it. So that means that bullpen has to come out. Corbin Carroll, probably going to be the rookie of the year. He is swinging the bat just great. Arizona can score. Tampa Bay can score. So no Gallen. That means I'm going over, Ross. I don't care what the total is. Give me the over on that one otherwise.
Okay, there you go. If Gallen's pitching, Doug is on the Arizona Diamondbacks on the money line over Tampa Bay. If Gallen doesn't pitch, Doug likes Tampa Bay and Arizona to go over the total. The only drawback on the over, and it's a small one, is Bradley's gone pitched 4-1 to the under on the road in 5 starts this year with a 2.13 ERA and a 1.15 WHIP. But then you look at his average innings pitched per start, and you look at, like you just alluded to, some of the struggles with Tampa Bay's bullpen. Not only of late, Doug, they, as good as Tampa Bay has been this year, I don't think their bullpen is anywhere near as good as it was in years past.
Oh, completely agree. And I mean, when you see certain games where they give up runs, you see ERAs of 7, you see ERAs of 5, you see ERAs of 6. Yeah, they have some guys that, that are lower, but they got some really bad ERAs, and it's one of those things. It's like one guy has a really bad game and he'll give up 4 runs, or he'll leave a couple guys on base. The next guy comes in, gives up the key hit. They score more runs off that guy. So, yeah, I mean, kind of untrustworthy unless they score a lot of runs.
I was laughing when you alluded to the fact that Tampa Bay was only 20-17 on the road. I wonder how many teams in baseball have been 20-17.
Well, compared to their home record.
Yes, absolutely. And their overall record. Quite frankly, what Doug's saying is they're beatable on the road. It's almost like they're automatic at home. Nothing's automatic, but they're a better bet at home than they are on the road. How's that? All right, Cincinnati and Baltimore. We got about 10 minutes to go, so I'm going to try to do this real quick here. It's going to be Andrew Abbott for the Cincinnati Reds, and it's going to be Tyler Wells for the Baltimore Orioles. 2 red-hot starting pitchers. Abbott's been nothing short of a sensation since being called up from the minors this year. 4 starts, 4-0 are the Reds in his 4 starts, and his 1.14 ERA and 0.97 WHIP in those outings has a lot to do with why the Reds are 4-0 in his 4 starts. Tyler Wells, well, he's been in great form over his last 5 with a 2.73 ERA and 0.98 WHIP. And he's pitched 6-2 to the under at home, and his 2.52 ERA and 0.82 WHIP in those home starts are also a key cog as to why the majority of those games were low-scoring affairs. Now, the problem is when I like to look at not how the bullpens are doing from the start of the season. I'll look at that. But as you well know, Doug, and I've mentioned it many times, I put a lot of emphasis on how the bullpens have done specifically over the last 7 games. And both bullpens, they haven't been horrible, but both bullpens have an ERA of over 4 in their last 7 games. So that's not a shutdown bullpen. Here's the other thing. It's just mind-boggling to me that the total in this game is 8.5. Yet the first 5 innings, it's 5. And I look at this matchup and I say, wait a minute. The bullpens are struggling. The starting pitchers have been terrific. Why is 5, the number in the first 5 innings when the total is 8.5. Well, I don't know what I'm missing, but I'm not going to miss this. I'm going to take Cincinnati and Baltimore to go under the total of 5 in the first 5 innings, eliminating any headaches and worry about when the bullpen comes in. I don't know. I'm either going to look brilliant or like an absolute dummy with this pick. I'm leaning on the first statement I made. So, Doug, your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a tough one. And now can I ask you a question though, real quick?
Sure. Yep.
If this was football, or maybe even basketball, but football for sure, would you have the same opinion about the odds makers number? So here you're letting it go, but I've heard you say often where follow the odds makers. Now I'm not saying that's absolute. To me it's very, what you just brought up is extremely perplexing. I hesitate either way. Your reasoning is 100% right. Okay, it shouldn't be. If it was 4.5, there would be cause for hesitation. For an under. But at 5, I have to agree. But boy, there's a little bit of doubt. What do the odds makers? What are they looking at that we're not seeing? Okay, now both teams can hit. Mm-hmm. Not saying that. But so anyway, that's my answer to your question.
See, and there's the other part of the equation. If both teams can hit, then why is the total only 8.5 with 2 struggling bullpens? And the strength of this matchup is both starting pitchers. Right. So again, yes, think like an odds maker. But here's the thing, folks. There was only one total before we went on air on the first 5, and it was at DraftKings, and it was 5. So we'll see. Now, here's what I'm going to say, okay? I like the under in the first 5, even at 4.5. So don't shy away from doing it at 4.5. If it was football, whole different set of circumstances. We're not talking about a football game that's the total is 55 or let's say 48 in the NFL, and halftime total is 27. Okay. I am looking at, I'm breaking it down in segments. I'm looking at both starting pitchers average around 6 innings pitched per game or a little thereunder. So now you're going to have to depend on your bullpens at some point because these guys haven't shown, neither starting pitcher, as good as they pitch, haven't shown the ability to go deep into games. So my answer to that question is I would look, it's 2 different subjects, 2 different topic matters. So it's hard for me to answer that and say, if it was football, would you?
Well, no, that's your reasoning. Okay. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
and the other part of the equation is, Doug, I put a lot of stock in starting pitchers. Right. And now with the first 5, the ability to play the first 5, I put even more stock into starting pitchers, and we've seen, how many games have we seen bullpens blow this year across the league? Every year when it comes down to it, right? And if a bullpen's not pitching good and you got 2 good starting pitchers, why not take a look at the under in the first 5? Secondly, if you have 2 starting pitchers that are in bad form, and that happens, and you have 2 red-hot bullpens, why wouldn't you look at taking the over in the first 5? So there you have it. I think more and more the problem is, as you well know, Doug, is I only have one site that I could play first 5 on, and that's Sports Memo. The other sites I'm on, none of them offer me that option.
To offer that. There you go. Okay, that's good.
So I would be using them a lot more. But for people who have access to do so, that's why I share those picks with you, because to me, that's a real good value pick. Anyway, we'll see. Like I said, I got a feeling based on going against my better judgment of going against an odds maker looking to lure you in. I am going to say I'm going to lean toward the opposite way to think in this particular situation. So there's an exception to every rule, Doug. Anyway,
of course there is no doubt about that. And speaking of exceptions, I gotta get what I want to say out too on this one because the clock is running. So Doug Upstone at DocSports.com, 8-4 run Major League Baseball, 6-0 in MLB props run, hitting over 75 or hitting 75% of late in prop bets. MLB prop bets red hot there. And Canadian football, you know what? I'm going to save that for Thursday. But I can tell you already, it's still looking good. Ross, what do you got?
Boy, I'm coming off a terrible weekend. That's the bottom line, folks. I lost a lot of games that I would make the same pick tomorrow. What's that mean? It means that I thought my handicapping was spot on, but situations like more men left on base than usual, on an over or on a team that you needed, losing a game in extra innings, 4 of those losses decided by 1 run. Another one, I lost the total by a half a run I described earlier in the Yankees game yesterday. So, yeah, it was a struggle, but I'm going to bounce back, and I'm not going to change a thing. This is not a time to panic because if I thought I was way off on these games, Doug, I know it makes sense to you. I would make some abrupt tweaks to my handicapping, but that's not the case. So on the positive side, I'm Major League Baseball weekday picks, which they monitor over at Sports Memo. I am 56-35, 61.5% with those picks since June 11th of 2021. So for whatever reason, Doug, I can't explain it. I'm knocking them dead during Monday through Friday in baseball. And like the last weekend, I struggled for whatever reason in Major League Baseball. College football and NFL is quickly coming upon us. College football 17-8 to finish last year, and the NFL another winning season. And keep an eye on my NFL September picks. Last year, folks, 14-5 with those picks going back to 2010. I am over 65% with my NFL regular season picks in the month of September. I can't explain it, like Doug says, but I've been apt to get off to very fat starts in the NFL. What does that mean? Get in on some early bird specials and get an NFL or college football or both, college football, NFL combined package over at rbwins.com. Doug, you'll be back with us on Thursday. I'll be back tomorrow with Jesse and Sean, and we're going to be talking NFL regular season win totals. Me and Doug will be talking NFL regular season win totals on Thursday as well. For Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, take care and God bless.